Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the newest episode of the Envisions Podcast. Happy New Year. It's the first episode of the new year, getting back to it. Today we have with us Neelu. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, everyone. My name's Neelu, as Alex mentioned, and I do a lot of things. I feel like, I should start off with the fact that I own a coffee shop, and I also own a modern-day bodega, which Alex is a big help of creating awesome content, and I've worked with both of these guys incredibly in creating fashion shows and putting photo shoots together, so really grateful to be here on the podcast, and thank you guys for having me, especially honored for being the start of the new year.
Absolutely, I'm excited. It's a good way to start it off.
Really is, and it's been, I think we just got to start with last year, because I think last year was just like 3 years like in one.
Yeah.
So much happened last year. Mm-hmm. What did you do last year, Neelu? It's like a couple things.
Couple things. Let's see. So, as I mentioned, I put my hand in a lot of different hats. I got to creative direct music videos and photo shoots with you guys and a couple other designers, and got to help you guys on your fashion show, which was super fun, and had my own fashion show at my coffee shop. And I took on a certificate program learning how to design sneakers. As he's shaking his head. And done a lot of like creating of my own platform called Detour that I'm really passionate about, was something that started in my master's program back in 2019, and kind of took a hiatus from it, took a detour for a little bit, and came back around with it. And I'm excited to really pursue it officially now that I feel like I have time. As we know, I don't really actually have time. No. Pretty good at filling my days, but it's just something that I'm super passionate about, and really hoping to continue to work creatively with different people, different avenues, and even for my friend Sharon, getting to launch her skincare in New York and helping her direct videos for that as well. So it's really been it was a creative year of exploring, I think, in 2024. And I think I'm really hoping that 2025 brings kind of the solidifying of all that creativity, and really like now honing in on them and like using those projects to fuel new projects. Yeah.
So if you were to take all of that, right, and bottleneck it all the way back down to like, is there one point where it started to kind of explode, or how did you get started in this sort of realm situation?
For sure. I think, well, to take it way, way back, let's go back to the beginning. When I was a kid, back to the beginning. When I was a kid, my older brother honestly is like a big, my biggest role model in a way, because he always inspired and always was supportive of every creative endeavor I ever fell in love with as a kid. So whether it was going through poetry, songwriting, designing sneakers, architecture, I had so many phases as a kid, and I just always latched onto some creative outlet. And my parents, being immigrants, they definitely were confused by all the different outlets that I was going through and the different avenues. And thankfully, because my older brother is a creative himself, he's a writer and everything, I think he understood what I was going through. And so he really like helped feed all those passions, whether it was finding books for me to read, exhibits to go to, concerts, whatever it be, like really fueled that for me. And so as I got older, I kind of started to delve deeper into those worlds myself. And when I got to college finally, where I was kind of on my own to kind of figure it out, I found the opportunity to be a music journalist, and that really opened the floodgates for me. So I started, running around the city of Boston, taking photos for concerts and artists and interviewing them, and just found so much passion in doing that. And then I was on the college radio station, because that was like always a pipe dream for me, to be like Anna Kendrick from Pitch Perfect and have my own radio show. And I was like, that's gonna be me one day. And I had my own hip hop R&B station, which was super fun. And I really was like those two worlds, plus a music business club that I founded at BU, really helped get me to where I wanted to be, at least working in the music industry. And I had so many incredible opportunities along the way working with artists, whether it was in the live space or design space or brand partnerships or whatever it be. I had just so many great mentors along the way, and people who really believed in my passion for music and my passion for the creative worlds and stuff, and was always working with fashion alongside that too, working with like the on-campus fashion clubs and bringing music to their shows, and just always felt like I had to be in those realms. And then kind of post-grad, continued to kind of explore those worlds. And when the pandemic hit, I was hosting digital music festivals, and I was doing my own thing kind of with a friend, Sharif, who's out in LA now. And we had started our own endeavor called Channel Sounds. And we were doing, again, kind of my passion for editorial and interviewing artists and hosting these digital music festivals, like I said, and we were doing cool merch collabs and all the weird detours that I've gone on in my life. I was doing like candle collaborations with artists, and I was making candles at home and being witchy and all these things.
Yeah.
I was doing like merch designs. I was doing brand guides. So I was really exploring at that point, and I was a head of creative for a nonprofit called I Voted Festival, where they would host like concerts that would encourage youth to go out and vote and when they did, like you would vote, you'd be able to have access to the concert, which was super cool. Really so I got to do graphic design work for that. And then post that came the crazy journey of building a coffee shop. And I always wanted to have a coffee. I said I would go on Detours. So a lot of side quests for this girl. But I like always said I would love to have a space of my own. And I think that was like the overarching desire was I wanted to have a venue space of my own to host all these experiences and bring all the people that I've worked with and like felt so passionately that like I needed to collaborate with them in some capacity. I needed a space to do that. And so coffee for me, loved coffee. Used to work as a barista while I was in school, and I always felt like coffee was a great community gathering ground for people. And so I said, one day maybe I'll do that. And that day came a lot sooner than I was expecting. Opened the shop and have been able to do that with you guys and have the fashion shows, the concerts, and have a space of my own to kind of play with and be a playground. At the same time, learn some very hard business lessons too. Definitely get knocked down, also get set behind a little bit on creativity too, because obviously the business comes first and you're supporting a team of people. And so I definitely had to go on that little detour of itself to learn a lot about business and like the operations and put my business degree to good use for sure. So money was not wasted there. And then, when I finally got the shops to be in a good place, then kind of coming back to myself and going back to the creative and being like, all right, this is my essence. How can I meld all my worlds together now with all the experience I've had? So the long-winded answer.
So how do you manage your time?
Good question.
Yeah.
We don't sleep. I promise I drink only 1 cup of coffee a day.
Why you got a coffee
though.
shop?
Yeah, no, I swear. People think I have a lot of caffeine in my system.
Just one?
But 1 cup, that's it. That's all I need. But my nickname as a kid was the Energizer Bunny. So that has not very much changed, which I'm grateful for. Definitely slowing down a little bit. Each year I get a little older and I get a little slower. But I would say like the best thing the way I prioritize all those is, recognizing what I'm really passionate about and like what I get excited about. And I've never really let anything get in my way of experience something that I really want to experience. Like I think a lot of people, obviously life, like, it's tough. Like you have to do what you have to do. You have to, to pay the bills. You have to support families. You have to support yourself, all these things. Like you can't disregard that and you can't ignore it. But I think if you can prioritize that, in addition to that, for my own sanity, I need this creative outlet, or I need this workout, or I need this, whatever it is that feeds your soul. I think you'll do anything it takes to make it happen, kind of thing. And I knew that for myself. Like when I was in college and I was doing all that music journalism stuff, I remember friends used to take photos of me in the photo pit studying for my finance exam while I was waiting to take photos of the artist, because I was like, and I would go to like concerts 4 times a week because that was my gigs. I had to work, but I also wanted to do that work. And I knew I had to be good at school too, because we're not just paying for school for no reason. Like I wanted to do well in school too. And so I was like, I'm going to make these worlds work somehow. And like, obviously multitasking is not always great, but prioritizing, I need to, study for my exam and also get these photos out because that means a lot to me kind of. So I think it was just finding ways to compartmentalize things in my day and knowing also like, okay, I have this much time of a day before I need to actually sleep and be a human being. So like here are my 8 hours I have to allocate to school. Right. But now can I allocate at least at the 5 to 9 level? Can I do, that creative outlet? Can I feed and like really being committed to that too? I think it's a lot of like, obviously it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of willpower to be like, okay, after a long day, now I gotta work my brain again to be ready to do work in a different avenue. But again, I think if you really feel passionate about something, you make it work. So I think it's just always finding all of my little holes in my schedule where I'm like, I will not teeter from this and won't deter. Like I owe it to myself. I have to promise myself that I'll put the work in for that.
That's a crazy answer.
It's so true though. Like, I don't know. I think about it like I don't think a lot of people like think that way. I think that way. I think Owalid thinks that way. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Those are the things that, yeah, exactly. Like those are the things that I want to do. So I'm going to find a chance to do it. Like I'll get home, and I used to get home like when I was in high school, right? And be like exhausted after sports clubs and school. And then still like, okay, I want to do this thing. And I'd go whatever, do a shoot, do a like edit for a couple hours, because that's like relaxing to me. Like that's the thing I want to do. It's what my brain needs.
100%.
And if I don't do that, then something's missing. And so it's the same thing. You'll just do whatever it takes sort of to get there.
No, exactly.
It's actually crazy because like not a lot of people think that way. I think you're right. Like most people are just like, all right, my life is X, Y, and Z, and that's all they do. If you can find a way to monetize the things that you're passionate about, that's the goal of life.
Absolutely. I mean, you'll feel more fulfilled because it's actually something you do like doing every day. And I was just talking earlier with Owalid about this, about how like now that I'm in, my late 20s, I'm looking back and I'm like, okay, I'm getting to go back to what did childhood Neelu love to do when the pressures and the responsibilities were not there? Like what made me tick genuinely, rather than like, okay, this is like cool because this is gonna get me to the end point or like the monetary value that I need. Like what is it that I actually loved? Now how can I, with all the experience of life that I've had and the business experience of it, how can I apply that now that it makes it work, that I can do that every single day? And I think that's always like, that's the tough thing to figure out. But like, I think it's worth trying to figure out because you'll be happier that way. So,
I know you mentioned you have immigrant parents. Where did your parents move from?
They came from Iran.
Okay.
Yeah, and my dad came when he was 18, and my mom did too. But they're 14 years apart, so they came at different times. One in the 70s, one in the 80s. So.
Gotcha. So like growing up with immigrant parents, like of course I also have immigrant parents. What was their take when you told them that you wanted to kind of go into like different creative aspects instead of like being a doctor?
Oh man,
I know how it goes. I know how it goes.
How do you like not sound stereotypical? But like it was definitely tough. Like they've always been. I will give them all the credit in the world of being supportive of me exploring those avenues. So as a kid, like my mom forced me to do piano, and I'm so grateful she did. I remember the days that I was crying that I had to practice, and now I'm so grateful because I'm like, oh my God, I have the skill to play piano. Like it means the world to me. And I mean, I explored music as a result of it. So like those things, my dad always, they were also supportive. Also another detour of mine is I do martial arts. So another one to add to the list of things, but like that was another one that they were super supportive of that I really wanted to do. And they never stopped me. So I think to their detriment was that they let me do so many things, that I found so many passions. And there was a photography course in New York. My brother went to school in New York, and he was able to convince them to let me stay with him for a summer so I could take this course out there. And I was like a 16-year-old, so excited, running around the city, like getting to like take all these photos and getting to like experience that world too. And that they let me do those things. I did an ethnomusicology course at Barnard one summer too, and like stayed in New York. Like
what?
Yeah,
what course?
Ethnomusicology, which is like the cultures of music.
Spell that. Ethnomusic. What? I don't even know what that is.
I'll spell it for you later so you can see.
That's crazy.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Pretty much.
Yeah, close enough.
So, but yeah, so I'm grateful for them for that. And then when it came down to crunch time of like, I need to make a decision of what I'm going to pursue, like career-wise for college, for them, undecided was not an option. And that was like a really tough, that was tough because I think senior year is when I started really recognizing, oh, I have a passion for things and I want to do it, but I have no idea what that looks like as a career. And I think that's actually one of our biggest flaws in society is like, you don't really show the kind of, especially in the entertainment world, like there's no real clear way of like what you could do for work in these realms, like, and how you can make it work. Like, I didn't even know there was a music industry, to be honest. I thought music just existed kind of thing. Artists did great. But I realized then, like freshman year of college, when I was doing the music journalism thing, there's a whole machine behind, all the music that comes out. And so I think those were things that I needed to find, but I didn't have the opportunity to, so I didn't know how to voice it. And so they were able to urge me towards pre-med a lot easier because I didn't know what direction I was going in. And also as a young teenager, not knowing direction, you're super scared. So you're like, yeah, that sounds great, whatever you say. So when I went to BU and I was pre-med first semester, I was super miserable. Not to say I'm it's such a creative avenue to go through pre-med also, but I think it wasn't the creative that I was looking for. And when I did, the first club I joined was the radio station. Those Sunday nights that I spent with those seniors, like being on the hip hop station, was called the College Blueprint. Shout out to you guys. We had a really great time, and I remember sitting there being like, what am I doing with my life? I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to be doing. And that switch was definitely a tough conversation with Dad. That was a night that my mom was like, good luck with that conversation. And I was like, it was after my last chemistry exam, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And my mom was like, all right, here we go. The rodeo's about to start. So Dad did give me a lot of pushback. We've definitely had a lot of arguments, but eventually he realized, like, for my happiness, I needed to switch. And so we compromised at business, because he was also a businessman himself. And so he saw that being like bigger horizons for me. Mm-hmm. And then I took that and ran. And, you know, for many years, they weren't supportive of the music industry that I was doing, and I never really talked about it with them, to be honest. Like, I tried to, and then realized it wasn't worth my time to talk about it with them. I love them to death. It took them a while. Honestly, now at age 29, they've actually come to fully accept or recognize all that, because I think they've also seen the work I've done in business and see, like, what it means to me. And now it's so funny, because I sit with them and they're like, our daughter's so creative, and she loves the creative world, and she works in music. And then they connect me to kids who want to go work in music, and they're like, you should tell them what you do. I'm like, all these years.
About time.
But, you know, again, grateful for them for all their love and support, and, like, you know, wouldn't change that for the world, but definitely was a grind trying to, like, I felt like I was definitely living two lives for a little bit, because I had that world that I was in that all my friends knew about me, and then I had the world of just, you know, being my family's daughter kind of thing, and, like, you know, just being good at school and all those things, and they didn't have to know about, like, all the music work I did that I was really proud of. So
I think that's how it went when I, like, told my parents that I wanted to, get in from architecture to sales. That was a difficult conversation. But then also, when I told my parents that I was going to start, like, the clothing brand, they were just kind of like, dude, you already have enough clothes. And I'm like, yeah, but, like, I want to make them. Like,
yeah.
And then, like, eventually, it took them a long time to accept it, that, like, that's what I wanted to do. I literally used to have clothes. This was before you were even part of the brand. I had, like, clothes just, like, stacked up in my living room. They're like, how the hell are you going to sell these? And I was like, I'm going to find a way. Like, but, like, now that they see that, like, with the work we're putting in with the fashion shows, like, when my dad came to our fashion show, he was kind of like, all right. Yeah. There was a Rolls Royce there. There was, like, some crazy cars. He loved the show. So, like, I think the thing with immigrant parents that a lot of people don't realize is, like, you can't just tell them that that's what I want to do and they're going to accept it. Mm-hmm. You legit have to prove to them that, hey, I can do this. And then after, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, now do it.
Exactly. And that in itself comes with a lot of hardship on us, the kids, because, like, all you're doing in your life is trying to prove, like, a point to someone. And it almost is like, now, like, at the end, it's like, I just want to prove it to myself. Right. But, like, for the longest time, you're just trying to prove it to them. You're like, I can make this work. And I remember that was the mentality all the time. Like, I will prove to them that I can make creative worlds be it, like, my job. Like, I can make it happen. It'll support me and all these things. And I know that, like, still it's tough to swallow sometimes for them, but I appreciate that they've tried to come around, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
what was that transition like? Because you left Sony after, like, for COVID, right? And that's when was it your dad that encouraged you to open the coffee shop?
Yeah.
So how was that transition?
That was definitely definitely what they say, the identity crisis for sure moment, because I had worked so hard, like, as we were saying, to prove a point that, like, I could make entertainment business work for me. And, like, I just remember, like, when the pandemic hit, I was actually working at AEG at this point, and I was working live music, and of course live music took the biggest hit in like terms of that aspect in the entertainment world. So I ended up being furloughed, and I came home to be close to the family. And when my dad, you know, mentioned he has property here in Worcester, and he said there's so many vacant spaces, and, you know, there's an opportunity here to build something of our own here, but I don't know what that could possibly be. And I could see this beautiful little, like, European feeling space, and said, you know, this looks like a coffee shop and feels like one. And I can see, and I also was very passionate about interior design and did a certificate program in that too. Oh, really? Okay. So another one of those. So, like, I was like, I really would love to design a shop. Like, that'd be so cool. And with the college next door and all the people in this building, it just made sense to, like, have something that people could walk to. And so an experience too. So we went for that, and, like, it started with, you know, wanting to do our own shop, and then it became working with, like, a franchise to, like, learn the process of, like, how to open a coffee shop. And so that in itself was its own kind of journey alongside building a shop, also learning the franchise route of things. And so That was like, it was a good experience, a lot of hardships, a lot of difficulty, a lot of negotiating and learning those skills and traits. And I truly learned a lot about speaking up for myself and that voice. And that started with having to talk to dad about transitioning and changes and things. And then it became, again, trying to talk to corporate owners and trying to like have my way and like see my vision and things. So I've had a lot of, now I feel like it's coming from a culture that is a very compromising culture too. It's very like, docile and listens to a lot of things. It was like a lot for me to learn how to speak up for myself too. Especially creatively, because like I think it's important that visions are seen and stuff. So like that was a tough transition because I went from music to food and bev, and I think that was like, oh, whoa, what? Like moment
just
that
different worlds,
completely different worlds, and I'm scrubbing floors and I'm washing dishes again like I was in college, and I'm throwing garbage out and like things like that, and dealing with coffee stains all day long. Whereas before I was dressing cool and edgy and going to concerts and meeting cool people that were creative and just having conversations. It was a lot more soft skills focused, whereas this is like you're just buzzing around all day long, physical labor. And I told myself, what did I do? Like I changed my whole world and flipped it upside down. But it's really like I'm very grateful for it too, because the people that I work with, my team, where I'm really grateful for, and the people that I've met through this experience and things like that has really brought like light to me and like given me creatively a new perspective of things that like has helped my other creative endeavors, I think, a lot. So having this perspective of the world and getting to be very community driven, and it's given it new purpose for sure.
Did you have any other businesses before the coffee shop?
Before the coffee shop, it was just the Channel Sounds business with my friends. So that was the digital music festivals and things like that. Like I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I think this was also, part of the reason I was like, I was actually between a job at Reebok and here doing this project. And that was a crazy decision to make. I remember sitting there for weeks just trying to decide, what am I going to do? Right. And I decided to go the crazy route of completely starting from scratch my life again, and like doing the thing that was going to kick me out of my comfort zone the most, because I wanted to grow. And there were definitely days I regretted that decision. I was like, why did I say that? But I think now I'm obviously like, this was really good for me. Like, I'm really glad I did it. And it grew so much and such. I've had the shop almost 3 years now. So like in 3 years time, who I am now is so different than who I was 3 years ago. And like, that's really cool to see how much it's changed. But yeah, that was a crazy journey.
Yeah. I think like we opened the brand right around 3 years ago too. Yeah. When did you open?
We opened February of 2022.
Okay, so yeah, we started the brand in like June or July of 2022.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we're coming up on like 3 years as well, and like
joint birthday party.
Yeah, might need to, like a little 3-year anniversary party.
Stay tuned, guys.
Stay tuned. But I do think it's like really, really cool. Just like I was telling Alex pictures of like, hey, 3 years ago today I was making mock-ups, and like now we have a million different things, just like a million different avenues that we went towards. And it's just crazy to think about. Absolutely insane.
It is. It is super crazy to look back at like how your brain was working one way, and then like as the future grew, like how you evolved, like how it got better, and like how like you were better able to narrow down what you wanted that to look like, or that voice to sound like, or anything like that. Just, it became a brand. Like it fully, like just like a child, like literally the child grew up, like, and you raised that. So
I really like the way that you said like how when you started you had like all these ideas and you kind of bottle it down and like building the brand, but then at the same time you like bottle it down, but then you like also go the opposite way, because like you started with like just building the brand, but then like you started doing different things. So like for us, like we started doing shows or manufacturing for others, or like working with this business and doing something we've never done before, and then making a basketball, like just things that we just did because we were bored. And like it's just weird because like you started building the brand and kind of narrowing down, but also diversifying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So. No, I mean, you just, as the years go, or even months, weeks, however long, but I feel like you just, as long as you're chipping away at it too, because I feel like speaking about passion projects specifically, like a lot of people also, unfortunately, just because that's how life is, will feel like they can't give enough time to it, and just as a result of that will not give the time, like just won't do it. Like just be like, it's not worth it if I can't give it my full attention. But I never believed in that, because I'm like, as long as you're chipping away at it slowly each day, like you give yourself even like a 10 minutes of working on that thing, like you will see gradual change, and you will see the directions it goes in, whether it's being narrowed down to a specific voice or it evolves and goes in so many different directions. But I like never believed in the art of completely letting go of something, which is like why I think coming back to Detour, I was so happy. Like I always kept it in the back of my mind, and I always was thinking, okay, what else could it be if it's not what it was when I first started? And like never like giving up on an idea, especially if you felt like, you know, like in your gut and intuition, like there's that, it's cliche, but like, you know, when something is meant to be for you, like you want to pursue it, you want it to be something, you feel like it needs to be seen by people. And like, I think like, again, I let it go for a little bit because the coffee shop definitely took my full attention to build and then operate and run it. But like, it always was like bothering me in the back of my head that I was like, I need to come back to this. And like, I just was always like, when I could, like at least it would keep me sane, was thinking about it and like being like, okay, what could I do with this next? And just as long as you're always thinking about it, I feel like you'll figure out the avenue that project, that dream is supposed to go, kind of thing. So I never like it when people are like, oh, like I just feel like I can't give it's the correct attention. I'm like, even if you can't, you should try. Like just give it a dose of like each day or each week or something. Give it that, what we were talking about earlier about giving, you know, time managing and figuring out if you love it, you'll make it work, kind of thing.
It's one of those things too where I think people get stuck on like the end product of it. And if like somebody's passion project was, I don't know, like to make a film or something, and they didn't even know where to start, and all they wanted to do was make that film, they're never going to do it because they don't like the process of it. So like with you building Detour, if your goal is to just make a magazine one time and that was your passion project, you'd never get around to it. But if your goal is to like just start working on it, which it seems like you're one of those people that can just, because most people just like, I don't know, they can't do it. Like even when you try to explain it, I don't know if it's a skill that you have to build over time, but it's something where if you're not able to just like slowly work or start working on it and enjoy the process of it, then you're never going to get to that anyway.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
It's like the uncertainty. Like I had a really good question once asked to me. A student from BU asked me, he was like, how do you, like as a risk taker, like when do you know to take the risk? And I told him, I said, you never know. I said, you know, you'll never, unfortunately, even if you're like the riskiest person on this planet, you will never know when to take the risk, truly. And I think it's just at the end of the day, you have to put it on yourself to be like, okay, I can gather 40% of this. Like I know I can do 40% or 50 or 60, however much you feel like, even if it's just 20, like I know this. But if you can start thinking about the other percentage that you need to solve that you don't know, you can figure out who you need to talk to learn about that, or figure out who you need to help solve or have finish that other percentage. Or if you can learn how to solve that other percentage, it's not a risk anymore because you know at least a portion of that. So the only riskiest thing is if you went into that not trying to solve for all the other contingencies and stuff. So like, I think that's like, I don't really like believe in completely like anything's risky because like as long as you do what it takes to solve the problem, then you're just doing, you know, you're just problem solving along the way.
Right, exactly.
So
I think that's the thing too of like a lot of people want to start a business or want to do X, Y, or Z, and then they get into it and they realize, oh, I have to solve this, and this, and they didn't think about it beforehand. So they're like, I'm gonna just not do it. Because you're right, there really isn't a good time to ever take a risk because it's a risk.
yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't take that risk, you don't know what the potential outcome could be. Which is the thing that I think that a lot of people don't understand.
There's never a right time.
There's never a right time.
That's what I was thinking too, going back to when you said you were between Reebok and starting this, right? Like in my head, I think I'd always go for the one with the most potential to be cool and do something different where you probably weren't going to be the CEO of Reebok, and that probably wouldn't even been that fun of a position. But like here, you're able to be the CEO of everything that you want to do.
Yeah.
And the only risk is sort of on yourself. Because I mean, if you put enough time and energy, honestly, into it, at some point it's going to happen.
Totally.
And so if you can take that risk, then take your own risk.
Yeah,
like it's on
I used to tell myself as a kid, like I used to tell myself too in college when we were talking about again how my detours, I used to kind of hate myself a little bit for it because I'd be like, why am I a jack of all trades and a master of none for a really long time? And then I was talking to Owalid about this, how like I realized it's not that, it's that my skill was that I had such an open mind to learn about all these different worlds and realms and people. Like I'm such a curious person by nature. Like I love when I met you guys, like I was like, I want to learn all about these guys and why they do what they do. And like, I just like gravitate towards people and their passions and learning about those worlds so I can better understand people. But then it allows me to creative direct and build other worlds with them. Like bringing what we said, like bringing all these worlds together and being able to be like, okay, we're putting on a fashion show because I met models and designers and vendors. And like I met all these people and learned their world so that I could bring them all together into one place and put something spectacular with all of them. And like, that's the skill. It's like, that's like, for me, that's like the passion. Is like, I got to just delve into so many places and my worlds are so much bigger for me. Like the world I see, my perspective of things is so much bigger as a result of it. And I get to do cool things with it. So like, and get to work with people that I feel really connected to and like creatively passionate with. So
yeah. I think that's the thing too, of like how you mentioned that if you're a jack of all trades but a master of none. I feel like being a jack of all trades is kind of like the biggest skill you can have, because you learn adapting, which is one of the biggest things that people don't realize. Because like if you know how to do one thing but then that thing doesn't last, you don't have anything else to turn to.
Yeah.
And that's where you get lost. Like I was thinking about this for like our show that we hosted. All of the people that were involved in that show, we've known them less than a year, like realistically thinking about it. At that point, I think we like just met you. At that point, we met Jonathan like 5-6 months before, Megan like a few months before, all the models, like, but like just knowing how to talk to people and then like pitch the idea of that show and then just like watching it all happen was just, I don't know, man.
100%. And like the action is also a skill, like executing something. Like you have an idea, but now you have to actually do it and like follow through and finish it. And obviously that takes a lot of energy and effort to also believe in that it's going to be okay. Like it's very quick for people to panic and be like, oh my God, this is not going to work out. But you can't have that mindset. Like even with the coffee shop, I didn't know if this thing was going to take off at all. But I was like, I can't have time for that mindset. Like you guys say, so your motto, it's a mindset at the end of the day. Like you have to go through it to the end and just, know that you are doing the absolute most, because even if it does fall apart, you did your best. Like you did your 200% in that. And there's nothing that could take that away from you. Like, you put all your heart in it. So like, I think that's more meaningful than, giving it like a half-ass job kind of thing.
Right. And yeah, even if it does fall apart, like if you go to let's say a job right now and I say, hey, I did a brand and I had the brand for 3.5 years, eventually got to a point where I didn't want to do it anymore, but I still had it. Like it's still a resume, a portfolio of like all the stuff that you have done. And that means a lot more to like an employer, for example, than just somebody who's like out of college and they worked a couple jobs. You know what I mean?
100%. And like to that point too, I think that's another thing. Like when I was going through the kind of the motions of like, what am I doing with my life kind of thing? Because I suddenly switched to food and bev and I was like, that was not at all what I was working towards to and what I hustled and like, what the hell? Like it changed my whole world completely. And I sat with that, but then I recognized, like, I feel like by like year 2, when it finally was getting to a place where the store was gelling and I had a great team and finally like I could like breathe again, I was like, wait a minute, like I get to say like I instead of being like I had to change my life, I had to change my career, I got to change my career. Like kind of reframing it and being like, I now get to look back at my resume and say, whoa, I did so many different things and be like really excited that I at least touched all of these points in life rather than being like, oh, I worked at one company and like you said, like worked my way up all the way to the top of the ranks. But like, is that a really fulfilling life to have just done one place only and not gotten all these experience and meet all these people and all these things, like work and constantly take myself out of my comfort zone. Like I get to constantly do that and challenge myself at every point and see what I am capable of, like, and see the strength in that too. So I think that's like important for people. Like, again, I know not everybody can do that. Like, and we need those people who also like really are passionate about one thing and master it. Like you need those people. Those people are so important, but we also need the people who can also, like you said, adapt and bring these worlds together and like find those people who are masters and make them shine and highlight them and things. So.
So as far as like going into 2025, what are some things you see yourself doing, whether it be with the coffee shop or the market or Detour or music or go on, or sneakers or whatever?
Whatever it be. Well, so for sure for the shop and the market, I think like the bodega is like, it's our new baby. So like, I think that's been like growing that and making that seen as more than just your typical convenience store. But like Alex has been, a big part of helping me with that, but really trying to curate it as like, this is part of your lifestyle. And I think that's always been at the core and the essence of like my passions is giving people experiences that is like something from their day-to-day life they just wouldn't see in a different way. And I love like disrupting. And that was actually what my master's program was in. It was disruption. It was called Media Ventures. And we were learning about disruptive forms of business. Like how do you change a whole industry and the way that people see it and interact with it and stuff. And so like I always wanted to disrupt positively an industry. And like same with the coffee shop, like hosting the fashion shows of the coffee shop has been such a fun and fulfilling way for me to be like, this is a different coffee shop. Like this is not just your typical coffee shop, but this is a cool one that like understands what's trending, what's like cool, what's again feeding the young like student crowd that we have here in Worcester and giving Worcester something completely unique that they don't get to see on the daily, like something that major cities only get to do and are very inaccessible. So like how do we bring that to communities and make them again inspire people like us so that when we were kids, like I wanted something like that to inspire me to be like, oh, I could go to a fashion show and I was like, be all cool and learn all that kind of stuff, that there is a career in that world. And I didn't get to see that very much until I went to college. But, trying to bring that myself has been really cool and special. So I think just continuing to build those communal gatherings and experiences. And we do the cultural festivals and stuff like that. So and the car shows, which have been super cool. And
I love the car shows here.
Mind-blowing to me. I've learned a lot about cars since then. But I think like that's been really cool. So continuing to do that. I think bringing and elevating and changing people's perspectives of typical spaces so that they see more beyond that. And then for Detour, which is now like the new focus for me, like again, kind of coming back to it, like we talked about, I really wanted to be a magazine that is kind of a curation of all of my creative redirections, kind of all the things I've tried and seen and done and discovered along the way, like all the weird projects that I do and stuff, and all the fun creative directions I get to do with like friends and colleagues that I'm so supportive of and love, like, getting to work with you guys. Like I want to support you guys and show the whole world Blessed Envision. And same thing with my friends who are musicians. Like I love their music and I want them to blow up and I need to I want to show that to the world. Like I get to meet so many amazing people and I just want the world to know them. Like, and that's like, I kind of want Detour to be that platform because that's all I do is I constantly keep finding things that I'm really
Different things,
and I just find so much passion in that. And like also, again, my own creative endeavors, it's a little bit of like Neelu's diary and like experiences along with all the, magazine-like type things where you're like, I'm showing you a new brand that you need to check out and buy their clothes, and a new song you need to stream, and a video a movie you need to watch, and all these things. Alex, your movie will be in there for sure. So like your feature will be in there. But like things like that I'm like just so excited to celebrate. And as a kid, I loved magazines for that reason. I used to take out all the clippings and put them on a board and be like, these are all the things I wish I could show everybody that I'm excited about, and kind of bringing that into my adulthood and bringing that to something that I hope the masses will enjoy at some point, and making it, again, disrupting it somehow, that a different way of seeing magazines too. So that's been kind of at the core of now my new question and inquiry of the year is like, how do I make a magazine more unique than what we're usually used to? So that will be the other project along with Coffee Shop and Bodega, I think, for this year. Along with just, personal growth too. I think that's always something that I want to work on. And like every year I feel like I do so much, as we know. So personal growth is always there. And, each year it gets cooler and better and like I feel like more refined. So.
How did you two meet? I feel like this is a pretty
So
funny
I was
story.
thinking about it.
You reached out to me.
Yeah.
Because I had the fashion show.
When was that?
That was, so
when
when
was
did
the
I
first
do?
show?
The first show
Because it wasn't
was
spring.
August.
So it was August
Yeah, you reached out to me in the summer, I feel like.
August 23.
Yeah.
So that would have been our second show.
Oh, that was our first show. That was our very first
No,
show.
it was
No, we
first
did Mass Fashion Week. We didn't as a brand. That was our first show as the brand because I worked Mass Fashion Week before that. So I think we just saw it on Instagram. I don't know who shared it, how I saw it. I didn't know any of the other brands.
I was so excited that
and
you guys
I reached
saw
out
that.
and you were like, yeah, and then just threw us right on as the like late entry. And I think that's how we met. Yeah.
Yeah,
and then did it from there.
exactly.
Which is funny because it just goes back to what you're saying too, that like Detour is like this umbrella because you attract all these people by putting it out there. And so when people meet you for all these different things, then it all comes in and builds like this one like community basically. And
I've been very lucky to meet really cool people along the way. Like I feel like we jumped on the phone call and I was explaining to you my vision for this fashion show and you were like all on board. You're like, yeah, that all sounds great. We're for it. I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, cool. All right. Sounds good.
I'm pretty sure this one was our first show.
It was, yeah.
So
as a brand, yes.
So the one we did as a brand. So you
I shot Mass
Week
Fashion Week the first time it ever
I
happened.
don't remember that.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty epic first show.
It was main topic then.
Well, okay, that makes sense.
It wasn't
That
Mass
makes
Fashion
sense.
Week at that
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember doing that show, and then we did Mass Fashion Week in Worcester a couple months later.
Yes.
At that
Yeah,
restaurant.
okay, I remember that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was super cool. I mean, that first show, like, really proved a point to me that I was like,
I can do
damn,
this.
like I can do this. Like,
Right.
and I always loved streetwear, so I was so hyped to finally like do something that was like like my own, like not just me like helping out on something. Like it was truly like my own that I curated, got to work with and showcase awesome people, and I like everyone was so great during the show, and a great crowd showed up for it.
Yeah.
Like
It was awesome. It was still one of the most fun shows.
Yeah, like
we've
I'm
been
so
to.
grateful for that. Even the second one, as chaotic as it was, because there
No,
were
it was
so many
awesome.
designers, it was still
Yeah.
foolproof, and I feel like everyone enjoyed it. And I have people coming back being like, when are you doing the next one? And I'm like, amazing. Like, it's a thing now. So, yeah, super cool.
Right, because like the whole community is built because the coffee shop, you start the coffee shop as a physical place, and then you bring in the people that are like you, and then they're more like that, and they bring their friends and bring their friends, and it's a whole community that likes all these different things, and that's like the most powerful part of it, I think.
And like all my friends who are artists too, like, I mean, I hope that eventually like all the musician artist friends I've had can perform once in my shop.
Yeah.
I think that would mean the world
so
to me.
cool.
But I've already had a couple of them, and it's been like so cool to be like, I have a space for them to perform in.
Right,
Whereas like I
right.
used to be running around to venues and like having to go like find and watch them. Like I can now provide a space for them to perform and show them to all the people that come to my shop. Like I think that's like super cool too, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity as well. And you know, I have so many friends who are working so hard in music to like make their music shine, and again, brands that are working so hard to make their brands shine. And I'm like, I want to shout it from the rooftops to everybody. So,
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Do you have, maybe at any step of the way, maybe not now, but even like back when you were in college and working on the music stuff, did you have like an end goal, like a 5 years, 10 years from now? Or are you kind of a one day at a time kind of thing?
It's so funny because all my friends know me as the girl who always has like 8 different planners. I'm very much a type A. Your girl's a Capricorn, so she like definitely like has like all of her ducks in a row all the time and like wants everything scheduled out. But 5-year and 10-year plans scared the crap out of me because I was like, I don't know where 5 years looks like, and I was like, and I have so many things that I do in a year that like I could never, like so many of the, like I even forgot to mention my other detour. I worked on location sets for Wakanda Forever and Madame Web.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So that was here.
Wakanda Forever. They did
filmed
that in
it here in
Worcester.
Worcester in
Oh,
Boston.
okay, cool. Yeah.
So like that was an amazing opportunity. I would have never seen that opportunity coming like from, you know, a year or 5 years ago kind of thing. So I'm grateful for the chance to have done that too. And I'm like, I can never predict what my year looks like because I'm crazy enough that I do so many things in a year. And I'm also grateful for that because it keeps the year so surprising and exciting with all those things. But I did definitely, when I was trying to like work towards music, the goal in my brain was like, oh, I would love to be a Forbes 30 under 30, and I would love to be like a mogul in the music industry that like changed the way we experience music and things like that. And like, I think that like that puts so much pressure on me too, though, when I was working in music because it's already a demanding industry. Like everyone's trying to out-hustle one another, and they're all trying to climb this corporate ladder in some capacity. And musicians are working so hard. Like I still have friends, you know, I really believe in their music, but I always will sit down with them and brainstorm ways to market their music because I really think they have something there. But the industry is so saturated and it's like so tough. So there were so many times where I was like, how do I just get to that position that I keep dreaming of, that I'm, you know, highlighting all these people that I think are so special and deserve to be seen. But like, and I make a difference for that too. Like I have an impactful enough voice that people are willing to listen to that music or willing to look at that brand or things like that. Yeah. And I feel like I had to come to this point where I'm like, no, I do that on my own terms now, rather than working for a company to do that where like they get to decide who gets to be seen. So.
Right. Alex and I talk about this sometimes, how you're just like, oh yeah, I just, you know, I worked on the set for Black Panther and Madame Web, and it's just like, we do so many things on like a yearly basis that some things we just like forget about, and it's like it's like a giant moment for us.
Yep.
But we're just kind of like, oh yeah, we did that. Next topic.
Like you guys did a fashion show, you're like, yeah, we did that.
Yeah, we did that.
Not in that way. It's just in like,
just in like
you do all this work to move for it, and by the time like even weeks before it's about to happen, we're already on to the next thing at that point.
On to the next thing.
Because if you can't do that, you can't survive, unfortunately.
No, it's true.
You don't get to like, I think people sort of watch this stuff and go, wow, like they must have worked so hard on that, worked every day on that, every hour of the day. Like, sure, we'd love to work every hour on the day on it, but we didn't. We worked from 9 to 1 a.m. like
100%.
3 days a week, and that's when we had all our meetings. And we did all this prep for the days leading up, and then from like the minute it was over, it was okay. We're
Pulled
back
an
on to the
all-nighter,
next thing. Yeah,
totally.
Like we're not sitting
100%.
around celebrating, unfortunately.
It's definitely a crazy, like, it's almost a thankless job because,
It is,
like,
yeah.
it's one of those things where, I mean, people are always so grateful. I think we've worked with really great people, but, like,
Oh,
I would
absolutely.
say, like, thankless in the sense to ourselves. We're pretty our harshest critics, I'd say,
Yeah.
like, where, like you said, you're on to the next already, and people look at me and they're like, aren't you, like, so proud of, or my dad is actually really sweet where he says things, he's like, I'm so proud of you. You've done so, like, you should, like, slow down because, like, but I tell him, like, I don't know, I know I have more to do. Like, there's more to be done, and I don't have time to get excited and be proud of those moments, which I've been trying to be better about, you know, now. Like, definitely taking the time, being mindful about, like, do you realize what you've done? Like, it's crazy. It still
doesn't hit you.
Doesn't
Yeah.
hit me. Like, I think about it all the time with the coffee shop. People are like, do you realize you built a whole coffee shop and you have it functioning now? And, like, it's actually, like, surviving. Like, it's sitting there. Like, it's in the green for the most part. Like, and, like, all these things. And I'm like, no, I don't know. I'm just going on to the next season already. Yeah. Like, I'm thinking about the next latte menu. I'm thinking about, okay, how do I, like, operate with my team, and thinking about all the other creative endeavors. And then
Always trying to figure out how to improve.
all that, like, fast-paced talking, I slow down. I'm like, okay, we did do a lot this past year.
Maybe we did.
Maybe we should, like, acknowledge that just a little bit. But no, I think, like, that also keeps us, like, again, it keeps us passionate and keeps us active and humble, and, like, that's why we don't slow down, and that's why we get to have all these opportunities,
Right.
because we don't let it get to our heads, and we don't let it, like, make us be like, okay, like, I've done enough. Like, I think that life is to be lived for this reason. Like, we get excited, and, like, I don't want to slow down. At least I want to slow down where I can, like, appreciate all these moments for sure. I want to be able to acknowledge all the beautiful moments we've put together, but I think, like, you know, I won't be slowing down like my dad hasn't until, like, I'm like 50 or something like that, because I want to make the most out of this life and get the most out of it. And I know that that's, like, a mindset. I know not everyone has that kind of mindset too, but I think that's, like, it's, like, a very beautiful mindset to have when you think about it, because there is so much, like, even traveling wise, like, seeing the world, there's so many places we need to see and so many perspectives we need to gain, and, you know, like, cultures we need to understand, and especially in this day and age. And, like, I think that it's, like, really special when you can have those connections with people, and again, through arts and through entertainment and through other means. Again, like, I love listening to someone go off about something, like, even if it's finance, if that's what makes them tick, like, tell me why that makes you tick. I want to know. Like, absolutely. Passion is so attractive, and I think that that's, like, I think that's what makes people like us friends. Like, it draws us to each other, and, like, that's how we were able to collaborate and work together, and we understand each other on a certain level because the passion is what drives us. So yeah.
What's so unfortunate about the passion part too is I feel like definitely when I was in middle school, high school, and I think it's sort of this generation, it's not cool. And I couldn't stand that. Like, I was always the kid that loved, like, so many different things, like, to be, like, do that, but it just wasn't a thing then, which is unfortunate. And hopefully, like, this next group, like, they'll be able to fix it. And it goes back to what you were saying too with your parents and going to school, like, just not knowing how to speak up. And I think that's another issue, like, kids, or, like, everyone, like, our age and younger and even older too, the like, risks, they're not given to you. Like, it's not like press this button. It's most of the time you have to find and speak up to get out of your comfort zone.
Totally.
It's not just every day you walk around and you see an opportunity to do it and it's yes or no. You have to seek those out, and you have to speak up for yourself too, which is interesting. So I don't know. Going back to what you were talking about of just being able to, like, enjoy the moments, at the end of the semester, we had, like, the test screening for the movie.
Yeah.
And so I quite literally worked, like, I think 18 hours in one, like, day.
Oh my
just
God.
the day before to get it ready for it,
Yeah.
just scrambling through finals week. And so I went to it and I was like, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm not going to sit with a notebook in front of me, and I'm just going to enjoy it and watch it. And I, like, watched it and, like, tried to enjoy it, try to watch
sure you were
everyone, but I'm
super
still
antsy.
always, like, it's not done. So I'm sitting there, like, thinking of everything else that's wrong with it, and it still didn't, like, resonate that it was done, even though I'm, like, a year in at that point.
Yeah.
Until the next couple of days, one of my classmates came up and was like, I cried 3 times watching the movie.
Oh,
And
so
I was
sweet.
like, oh, and, like, that's kind of like, okay,
That's the
like,
moment
somebody
it
else saw it and it was real for them, and, like, that's what matters, and, like, that's why we're putting this stuff out there.
No,
'Cause
100%.
it fulfilled me already, but to hear it from somebody else was, like, that was the extra part, and I think that's
Totally.
what we don't get for ourselves enough, unfortunately.
No, I totally agree with that. I think it's, like, like you said, it's like almost like a smack in the face in the best way possible when somebody comes up to you and tells you like what a difference you made for them. Like you were just telling me, Owalid, earlier too, how like the kid like designed that shirt for you.
Shout out Dylan.
Yeah. Shout out on like for what you've been doing and what you guys have been representing and stuff, and inspired him. And like when I hear like friends of mine say like, we've always been so inspired by like how you've managed to, do all the different worlds. Because again, to me, I always thought that was so crazy of me, but I couldn't help it. That's just who I was, like finding all these activities and projects and things to do that I couldn't like be singular minded and stuff. And when they tell me that actually inspired them and they were so excited, they're like, we want to live a life like that. I'm like, okay, like, maybe I'm doing okay. Maybe I'm doing something there, but like, no, it's definitely special. And I love that, like you were able to move, and that's what art is. It's about moving people and like giving people something memorable. And like, I always like, it was funny, I asked on my Instagram story the other day, what's people's favorite word? Because I just wanted to know, like, because my favorite word is souvenir. And because it means like memory, it means like a memento in a way. And like, I always, for me, like that's what life is about, like building memories and building experiences that even in your old age, you will look back at and be like, remember that memory we had because we went to this fashion show and it was so cool. And like building those memories for people, I think that's like the ultimate goal is like, I want to build people's like special bank of memories, like that they'll never forget.
Wow. That's so crazy. Cool. I do think that like, I love what you said. You just said art is about moving others. I love that.
Yeah.
Got to put that on a t-shirt somewhere.
But put it on the Detour shirt.
Put it on the Detour. We're cooking something up for Detour.
Okay, awesome.
I'm telling you.
I'm so excited. So excited.
But yeah, like the fact that you said art is about moving others, I love that because like the story behind the shirt. So when I was working a job as a substitute teacher, a kid came up to me and he was just like, yo, I was telling him a little bit about the brand, and then he messaged me a couple days after I left that job. He like messaged me, he was like, hey, like I want to do this X, Y, and Z. And then he messaged me a couple weeks ago and he was like, hey, like I just made this t-shirt. I made X amount of dollars like by selling it. And then he was basically telling me, he was like, yo, like I wouldn't have done this if I never met you. And like I saw the stuff that you were doing, and I'm like, dude, you're making a difference in people's lives. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why you shouldn't ever give up. No matter 100%. How difficult it gets, is like somebody out there is looking at you and like they're like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. So like even if I never reach the position that I want to be at, I know that I'm going to inspire somebody to reach the position that I want to be at.
Totally.
Just crazy to think about.
And like, yeah, and like art is like, it might feel very singular, it might feel very siloed, but like, again, you don't realize what communities you've built through that, even the subculture communities. Like, I think that like, that's like actually what the world revolves around, is the subculture communities. Sure, we've got all the trending mainstream stuff happening, which is like for the masses, but the world is really about the people that are like underground, like all these people who are like, that's what connects us, is the smaller groups of people and the niches and the things that people are really like. I went to a Saint Laurent concert, and when I was sitting in that audience looking at the crowd, like all the Middle Eastern crowd that came out from Massachusetts that I didn't even know that was so big. I was looking around like, oh my God, my people, like everywhere. I was like, where have you all been? But it was really cool to see, like, how we all like were in that space together and listening to music that Saint Laurent does an amazing job modernizing like Arabian music and making it very like, it's like modern day rap and stuff like that, but it's also got all the old school elements of Arabian music, and like feeling like I was a kid again, listening to all that music at home. And that I think the one thing I think our generation is like really into, and I love that that's what we're into, is like tying nostalgia back into things, because that is memory. That is like art, and art is the things that move us are the things that we connected to so deeply as kids, or connected so deeply to in general, because we had like something that resonated with that when we were growing up or something. Like, I love that that's like a lot of like movies today is like about nostalgia, or brands too. Like fashion always goes back to a little bit of a retro homage kind of thing, or like same, like I just love that we're all trying to like find the middle ground of like moving forward and being innovative, but still respect our roots and respect the thing that made us like who we are as people. So I think that's super cool too. Art is moving, for sure.
Art is moving. I think that's a good note to end it on.
Yeah.
So the way that we end our shows, I'm sure you've probably seen it, is we say one thing we're blessed for, one thing we're envisioning for the future. Cool. Do you want to start, Alex?
You start.
Damn.
On the line.
All right. One thing I'm blessed for is honestly just a new year, definitely a lot of new opportunities, a lot of new doors opening. 2024 was a phenomenal year. It was definitely the best year of my life, but I say that every single year. So, yeah, so just blessed with new opportunities and everything that else we have going on. Envisioning, honestly, just seeing how things go this year, because I know it's going to be a good year. All the work that we put in the last year of just like building and growing, and I think it's really going to pay off this year, and it's going to be a lot more building and growing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm blessed with the opportunity to build and create with so many people, with you, with Neelu, with all these other people that we're going into the new year with. Finishing up the movie that's been about a year at this point of a process, so I'm excited to get that done going into the new year. And envisioning, figuring out what's next, because I'm going to graduate this spring, so trying to figure out what's there and what it looks like, and not think too much about it and let it go where it takes me, because that's how I like to move. So.
Awesome. I love that for both of you. I think that's really exciting stuff. And I'm excited to be cheerleading on the corners, sidelines for you guys and all of that. And then I guess what I'm super blessed for sure, and I've been saying that repeatedly, like I think all throughout 2024. 2024, I had a really tough moment that was like, it definitely hit me a lot harder than I thought it was going to. And throughout though 2024, I got to really reflect. And I think the thing I'm most blessed for is all the people in my life, like the people that I have, including you guys too. But I'm like so blessed for the people that have come into my life that I've been able to connect and continue to grow and build and create with, and just have in my life, like even in my hardest moments. Like I think I've always been kind of a tough, like I've always had a tough skin and been always like so busy to not even like acknowledge that, you know, I need to be vulnerable at moments too. And all the people in my life this year really proved to me how lucky I am that I have the support system that I have, and that, you know, I am truly like thankfully loved and supported by all these people that I get to work with and, you know, be with in my life. And I've grown a lot of friendships over time, and like I think that all takes a lot of hard work, and knowing that those people put in as much hard work as I did for our relationship, I think just like, again, makes me feel so blessed and so grateful that I have them. So shout out to everybody that is in my life. Thank you for being who you are. And then I'm, you know, envisioning for sure, like definitely more growth, you know, for my stores and for my team and everything. Like I always like to think about like the team that I work with too, and like envisioning their growth. But I'm also really excited for what Detour could be. Like I think that's been like the newest thing that's like getting me super excited in the morning to get up to. And I'm like really excited to see what that will turn into, and all the people that I again have in my life, and like who I can soundboard with, and like envision what that looks like for everybody to enjoy and experience, and hopefully some more travels and more adventures to come, because that's my life is all about detours, guys. Yes. So more detours to come, more side quests.
Awesome.
That's a great thing to leave it on. All right, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. If you're in the Worcester area, check out Fuel America. What's the address? 100 Grove Street?
100 Grove Street,
See, yes. I know that.
You
know
that.
Here all the time.
You come here enough.
I come here enough. Yeah. If you guys are in the Worcester area, come check out Fuel America. Come check out Grove Village Market. Come check out Neelu. Thank you, guys. Peace.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Peace.
you.